listening to episode 164 of the Tennis Files podcast, Mastering Singles Strategy with Edgar Giffenig. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Tennis Files podcast. My name is Mirban Aranshad, a former Division I college tennis player, and on the show, I interview the world's top pros, coaches, and experts to help you improve your tennis game. And today I have on elite coach Edgar Giffenig. And Edgar is a fantastic coach. He's been on several of my tennis summits. He is a frequent speaker in coaching workshops throughout the world. He has over 30 years coaching players of all ages and levels. He also is a great player. He was ranked 5th in the ITF World Rankings in the 55s a few years back. And he is the author of the books Play Tennis with Passion and Developing High-Performance Tennis Players. And he is the founder of Giffenig Tennis. And he's an international consultant for TennisGate. So a lot of great accomplishments, a great background. I'll sneak one more in. Edgar was a national coach for the USA, Germany, and Mexico. So yeah, I'm excited to bring you this episode because I'm primarily a singles tennis player. Of course, I'm playing a lot more doubles now, especially with the USTA Leagues being predominantly doubles, but we do get some singles in there, but obviously tennis tournaments, singles, and so it's always fun for me to talk singles strategy and combine, what I've learned and experienced with the knowledge of great coaches like Edgar. And so we're going to talk about a lot of great things on this episode, including how to prepare for singles matches and devising the proper strategy, shot selection, how to think of singles points like gambling when you're choosing the proper shot to hit, and how to just optimize your choices and how to become a winning singles player and avoid a lot of very common mistakes that singles players make when they play matches. And so you're going to definitely benefit from this episode. There's a lot that you can take away from it. And I think I really think that you should have a pen and paper with you or, be typing on your computer, and don't be afraid to pause the episode and rewind it. I know they have these like 15-second or 10-second rewind buttons and 30-second forward buttons, which probably you're not going to use the latter one. Hopefully not. But yeah. So, with that, I want to launch straight into the episode. And without further ado, here is my interview with Coach Edgar Giffenig. Hey, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of the Tennis Files podcast. It's always really fun for me to do these episodes live with some great guests. And we have today on Coach Edgar Giffenig, who is a really great coach. And I've had him on several of my tennis summits, and he's written books about tennis, and he is creating great content about tennis. And so, Edgar, I want to welcome you to the Tennis Files podcast, and thank you for joining.
Thank you, Mervin. Great to be here.
Definitely great to be here. And I'm really excited to talk to you about singles strategy. Obviously, it's a part of the game that's really difficult sometimes for us to figure out. I get a lot of questions from guests about, what shot should I hit in this particular situation? How can I plan better before matches? How can I do a postmortem on my matches for my singles play? And so that's why we're going to have this episode for you today, and also answer your questions live as well. Unless you're listening to this on the audio version only, then in that case, it's not live. But so Edgar, I just want to jump straight into it as far as tennis strategy, single strategy. I was fascinated by your comparison of single strategy to be kind of like gambling. And I saw this in your latest course that's coming up. So I was curious if you could explain to us why it's helpful for us to think about single strategy like we do with gambling.
I think basically what your goal on the court is when you're competing is to give yourself the best chance of winning. That means that you have to play the odds. And that there's a term in tennis that's called percentage tennis. And what that means is that you're choosing the shots that will give you the best chance of winning the point. So if my topspin backhand gives me an 80% chance of winning the point, and my slice only gives me a 60%. I gotta stick with my topspin as much as possible, because in the long run it adds up, and that is going to be the best way to win. If by coming to the net I'm winning 60% of the points, and by staying back I'm only winning 40% of the points, then I should try to add more coming into the net just to improve my chances of winning. And whether it's singles or doubles, you really have to play the odds. But in order to be able to do that, you really have to understand your game. And I think a lot of people have a hard time with their strategy because they're not clear on what they can and cannot do. So if all of us hit great shots, and all of us have hit a Federer forehand at some point, but if we believe that that's our normal forehand, we're probably going to make 1 out of 20, and that's not going to win many matches.
Yeah, Edgar, great explanation. And so, when you talked about, shots coming to you, and if you hit a slice backhand versus a topspin backhand, you have to know which one is going to give you the better chance of winning, like in gambling. And I'm a big poker fan too, so I calculate all those odds, depending on what cards I have and what's on the board. But anyways, in that scenario, like what types of things are we thinking about to actually determine which of these shots will give me the better chance of winning the point? It seems like there are a lot of different variables to process in such a short amount of time.
Well, the first thing would be know your game. And how do we do that? Well, you have to do a lot of drills where you focus on consistency. And I like to throw out the number 8 out there, because I always think 8 is a good goal for you to reach in terms of consistency. That means you want to balance power and consistency when you're practicing. So if my goal is to get 50 balls in, well, maybe I can do that if I just lob it, but that's not how I'm going to play. So I want to be aggressive, and I want to try to find that thin line in my game where I can be as aggressive as possible, but still consistently enough to be effective. Right? So if I'm practicing and I'm missing every third ball, that means that I'm probably hitting at a speed that is above my capabilities, or I'm hitting the type of shots that are too risky. And so I need to, whenever I'm on the court, I need to try to kind of look for that eight fast shots, this average of making at least 8 balls. If I am making 15, well, hit it harder. Try to push it a little bit. If I'm only making 3, well, hit more topspin, slow it down, find a way to get a few more balls in. And so every time that you get on the court and you drill, you kind of have this search for that ideal line between power and control. After a while, you start understanding, okay, at this pace, I should be able to make 8 balls. So if something, when I'm playing singles, this is a kind of a good pace for me. Maybe it's a 75% of what I can do, somewhere in there. Another way of doing it is exercises where you kind of start hitting maybe 5 really slow ones, then you go 5 faster ones, 5 faster ones, and then you start kind of understanding where does it break down. And so when you're playing a match, if normally my game breaks down at 80-90% of my capability in terms of speed, I better choose those kind of shots when I'm up 40-15 and not when I'm down a break point or something like that, because the odds is I'm probably going to miss it, or it's 50-50 chance. So before you bet, you just got to know the odds. And that's, I guess that's the difference between the professional poker players and the amateurs, right? And so it's a little bit the same thing in tennis. It's like the amateurs are playing against the odds because they believe they can hit much better shots than they're capable of hitting. And yes, they might hit it once or twice, but that's not going to win matches.
Yeah, I love that idea of, needing to find your range, and then also making sure that you practice appropriately to how your matches are going to be, with the proper intensity. And how do players actually, because I'm sure a lot of us listening want to increase that 8-ball basically like range of mix of power and consistency, make it more powerful as well. So maybe this is more technical, but how do we actually keep increasing the quality of that 8-ball range?
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the way it works is you find out where you are, and then you find out what you need to do to go to the next level. And so for that, you probably need a little bit of an advice of a pro to what you play and see where it's breaking down. Like you say, it's probably a technical aspect. And you have to have a solid enough technique to be able to accelerate the ball at more speed. So basically, technique, what it does, it allows you to play more efficiently. That means if you have better technique, you're going to be able to hit the ball more consistently at higher speeds.
Yeah, no, great stuff, Edgar. And so how do we prioritize whether we should work on the technique aspect first or strategy? Is it such that, if we want to implement a strategy and then we don't have the technique for it, then we go and work on the technique, or is it some other approach better?
I always like the approach to kind of focus on strategy first. What do I want to do on the court? And then see if I can do it. Mm. Okay, so if I know that I need to be able to hit a high defensive lob when on the run, or high topspin shot when on the run to get back on the neutral situation, then okay, that is a strategy that I want to implement. So now, what technical tools do I need to be able to implement that strategy? So if I cannot technically hit the ball high with topspin, well, it doesn't matter how much tactical knowledge I have, I'm not going to be able to do it. And ideally, what we want to do in the tactical aspect is you want to be able to play automatically. A lot of people think that tactical tennis means, okay, this guy is really smart, so he kind of knows what to do. Well, yes and no. I mean, he does know what to do, but part of it is he or she has been in that situation enough to know exactly, when I see the situation like a picture, I'm going to react this way. This is the right way to react. And so I have to, if I want to play solid tennis, I have to put myself and I have to practice specific situations that are causing me trouble over and over and over until I can execute it technically well and until it becomes second nature.
Yeah, very well put, Edgar. Appreciate that. We're getting a bunch of questions already from the audience, so I want to shift over to some of those and then trade with my own questions that I've prepared. So Jordan, who is a great listener of the podcast, is practicing against a wall a good way to improve ground strokes? And then I would add, are there any specific adjustments that you make when you practice against the wall?
For some of you that have heard me speak before or that have read my books, I am a big believer in developing stroke flexibility. And what that means is the ability to hit any type of ball that's coming to you, high, low, with spin, with no spin, fast, slow, and send it back with the desired combination of speed, height, spin, placement. So that means in tennis, the technical component of tennis, a lot of people focus on how you hit the ball. And I like to work on what do I want to do with the ball? And can I do that? So it's not, I don't want to think about technique as being like a form, like the racket has to have this form, or I have to bring the racket here, put it down, do that. But I have to be able, on the forehand side, I have to be able to hit the ball high, low, fast, slow, topspin, slice. And so I'd like to practice that way. So what I always preach is that you have to try to practice with a lot of flexibility. That means instead of hitting forehands for 20 minutes cross court, what you want to try to do is, okay, you hit 3 minutes high forehands, then you hit 3 minutes slice forehands, then you hit 3 minutes with a lot of topspin, then you hit 3 minutes flat, then you hit 3 minutes really low balls. And so you really kind of try to develop those tools that you're going to need later on in the tactical aspect. So that is how the technical and the tactical go together. You cannot really separate it. Why do I want to be able to hit the ball high? Well, when I'm defense, I have to hit it high. Why do I want to hit the ball with a lot of spin? Well, if the ball is short and I'm inside the court, I better hit a lot of spin, because if not, it's going to go out. Mm-hmm. So I have to kind of develop those tools in order to be able to be able to put them in practice on the tactical aspect. And so the question about the wall, I think the wall is great, but what I would recommend is that you try different things on the wall. So not only like just hit your forehand and hit the thousands of the same forehands, but try to vary, try to be specific. Okay, let's try to hit it a little bit higher. Let's try to hit it a little bit lower. Let's try to hit it with more spin. Let's try to hit with a little slice.
Got it. Yeah, no, great advice there on hitting with the wall. Change it up for sure. Get different balls to hit against it. We have a question from Alok, which he says, I need help against athletic pushers / blockers. No matter how hard I hit and take them out of the court, the ball keeps coming back with no power. After hitting 2 to 3 aggressive shots, I will hit the 4th one out. So what are your thoughts? I know you talked about, the 8-ball, approach, but what else do you think about this question, Edgar?
Well, I think it's very important to understand how to handle different types of players. And nobody likes a pusher, especially if you don't have the ability to counter a slow, consistent ball. And so what basically Alok is telling me is that he doesn't really have an ability to finish the point effectively. And so he has to develop some tools to be able to do that. And when you play against somebody that's very fast and gets the ball in, well, the first thing that you need to kind of understand is that the guy is actually doing the right thing. Tennis, you win by getting the ball in. It doesn't matter how hard or slow. If you're hitting it out, no matter if you hit bullets, they're out, you don't get extra points. So they got to be over the net and into the court to count. So the guys that we kind of call pushers kind of have the right idea of the game. So your basic concept should be, okay, let's get the ball in. Let's make sure that I'm not missing the ball. Let's make sure that the opponent is beating me and that I'm not beating myself. Now back to the question, okay, how do you play those type of players? Well, the first thing that you need to make sure is that you're not beating yourself. Alok sounds like he is beating himself, because he says after hitting 2 or 3 aggressive shots, I will hit the 4th one out. So that means that he's making the mistakes. So against the very consistent players, the first thing that you need to do is you need to be more patient. So the good thing about that is, first, most likely they are not going to attack you. So you don't have to worry too much about hitting great shots, because they're probably just going to get it back. That's kind of their game style. So you can pick your moment. You can keep the ball in until you have a really good shot that you can attack. So you don't have to start attacking right away. The other important thing is that you want to maybe don't think about power so much, but think about taking time away from the opponent. What does that mean? Instead of trying to blast a bullet from the same spot on the court, try to see if you can catch the ball early. Try to see if you can hit a good shot, and when you see the opponent stretched, move forward, catch the next one in the air, and just hit it to the other side. So that way, if you're catching the ball earlier or even in the air, you are forcing the opponent without actually trying to hit the ball harder. And that is kind of the goal. You don't want to be risking while attacking. And if you just if your answer is just to hit the ball harder every time, well, it's going to come to a point where you're going to make a mistake. So Very, very important. If you want to beat very consistent players, you have to develop a better net play. And especially you have to develop a better overheads. Because most likely when you come to the net, the first thing that they're going to do is lob you. And so if I'm missing my overhead or if I'm getting passed by a lob, I'm letting the opponent beat me with the easiest shot possible. So if I want to improve my chances of winning matches against very consistent players that just kind of push the ball over, I need to be able to finish a point. And I would start by working on my overhead so that every time they lob me, I'm ready and I'm going to hit a good overhead. Then I'm going to work on high volleys. Why high volleys? Because most likely those guys don't have that much power. So if I am winning the high volleys and I am just losing the points where the guy actually hit a nice passing shot, okay, that's different. But most likely I'm giving them a lot of free points by missing easy shots. So really work on putting away the easy shots, work on taking time away from the opponent. You have them stretch, you move forward into the court, try to catch the ball early, and then just change directions. If you can catch it in the air, even better.
Yeah, I love that advice, Edgar. I would be curious a lot for you to analyze, why you're missing that fourth shot. Are you going for too much? Are you off balance? Do you kind of lose patience in the rally? And then, like Edgar said, you need to really practice, your high volleys, your overheads. And also, I would just add that, in the beginning, when you do practice this more aggressive, type of game, it may be a little frustrating. You may miss a couple, but you have to really stick with it. Because I remember when I, was afraid to serve and volley, and, I'd miss a few volleys, and I'd go back to just like a pure baseline game. But if you stick with it, and then you're gradually going to get more comfortable up there and more consistent with that, and it'll make a big difference. So definitely keep at it there. So thanks for that question. And we have one from Ja, which I'm not sure how familiar, you are with all the, tech and all that, tracking matches, Edgar, but we have a question about tracking. How can we track the percentages, I guess, during a match? Like generally, do you know of any good tracking platforms for when somebody plays a match to actually look back at their percentages and stats?
Well, there's a lot of things out there, and there are actually some services that will take your whole match and kind of give you the statistics for that match. I normally, what I do is I like to track very specific things. So I don't like to track like everything. So when I'm tracking something, I want to be very specific. Like I want to understand, okay, identify what the real problem is, and then really try to track that. So some of the basic things that I like to track is, for instance, return mistakes or double faults. I think there's a lot of matches lost because the player is not able to put the ball in play. So if you think about it, if you miss 2 returns every time you return serves, it doesn't sound bad. Okay, I missed 2 returns. I mean, that's kind of normal. Well, it's love 30. So if you miss 2 returns, you're down love 30. So you have to win 4 balls to make up for that. So giving the opponent love 30 every time they serve, you're probably never going to break the guy or the girl, right? So, yeah. I mean, it sounds kind of, 2 returns, that's not too bad. That's normal. Well, it's not really normal. You got to start the point, really. I mean, if you really focus on cutting down initial mistakes in the point, you're already one step ahead. So one of my great advice to players is make sure that you start the point right.
Yeah, Edgar, no, that's brilliant advice. And, I go back to thinking about Craig O'Shaughnessy. He advised Djokovic, numerous times. And so, he talks about the first 4 shots. And, I mean, it's just in line with what you're saying. I mean, if we have these like issues and leaks with our return game and our, we're double faulting, and we'll get to that too, about the US Open men's final match, but then we're giving away, big leads and a lot of points that, we should be trying to win and not just throw away. So just to build on that, I guess, Edgar, I'm curious about your thoughts about the match last night against, it was Alexander Zverev against Dominic Thiem, really great match. But, there was a lot of talk about Alexander Zverev's second serve and that he was missing a lot of them. You saw the double faults late in the tie break, the most crucial point. So I was wondering of your observations as well on, maybe what is the cause of that potentially, and any other, things that came to mind as far as single strategy is concerned.
I mean, I thought really Zverev should have won the match.
Yeah.
He had it several times. And tie break, those double faults, he was either dead or really got tight because he really slowed down his second serve. It was just kind of barely getting over the net. He wasn't even swinging at that serve. I know during the match, what he was doing is that he was taking some chances and going for some big second serve. And that goes a little bit back to what I was talking about early. It's like a casino. I mean, the guy is like 6'10", something like that. I don't know exactly what he is, but he's really big. He has a great serve. So those type of guys, gambling on a second serve may pay off. I mean, if I try to hit my second serve like the first one, I mean, I'm not going to do too much because the opponent is still going to be able to get it back. So why am I gambling on something that I might miss more and it's not giving me the result even when I make it? In his case, total opposite, right? In his case, if he really makes that second serve like a first one, he's probably going to win 4 out of 5 points. Mm-hmm. So even if he double faults once in a while, the odds are still helping him. So, and that's kind of the job of the coach and the job of the player to understand exactly that. So if you're going to take a chance and you're going to make more mistakes by taking that chance, you better make darn sure that when you make that shot, it's going to pay.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of how he was looking at his second serve. And in his case, I don't think it's a bad idea. One of the things I think he did really well and that he probably should have done more is just attack the net on the team's backhand. I mean, the team has a great backhand. But still a one-hander, still you can get him really stretched, and not even team can make those shots totally stretched. So I think he had the right approach. I also one of the keys that I think for everyone. I mean, I have something in my book that I call the laws of the battle, which is kind of like the right strategy for a given position on the court. And one of my laws of the battle is that if the opponent is returning really far from the net to serve and volley once in a while. Why? Because it gives you a lot of time to get close to the net. So the opponent has to hit a great shot to beat you. So that Zverev was doing that. So Zverev team was way behind. And so that allows Zverev to really get tight on the net on that first volley. And so that's another good thing that he was doing. He did a great job hitting that forehand down the line when he got team off the court. And that is also something that it's very important. The cross-court or the down the line, that's a basic strategy in tennis. So in tennis is a cross-court game, basically. What that means is that not much can go wrong if you keep hitting the ball cross-court. I mean, you could keep hitting the ball cross-court the whole match, and you're going to be in pretty good shape. But if you try to hit the ball down the line the whole match, then you're going to be running like crazy. So if you're playing to exercise, hit down the line, keep hitting down the line, you're going to be running like crazy. But if you're playing to win, you better hold on those down the lines until you can force the opponent or if you're kind of playing from the middle of the court, it doesn't really matter that much. But if you're close to the lines, make sure that you hit cross court and only hit down the line when you can force the opponent. And Zverev was doing really well. Exactly that. He was opening the court with the forehand cross court most of the time, and then Thiem would hit an angle on that, and Federer and Zverev with his power would just go down the line, and he hit several winners on that.
Yeah, it was a brilliant match, and I appreciate that analysis. And took a lot of heart to get through that match. We've got another question. Got quite a few. Samantha, hello. How do you properly prepare for a singles tournament when you're not getting a lot of tournament practice at tennis clubs? Very good question.
That is difficult. The best way to prepare for tournaments is match play and play in tournaments. So there is really a reason why the pros play so much and the top juniors play so much, because if you don't play enough matches, your game never develops. You cannot just practicing will only get you to a certain point. Really, the best practice that you can have is playing matches. And you play matches and kind of to understand where you are. What am I missing? What's happening? When am I getting nervous? Why am I choking in these situations? And if you never really experience that, it's very difficult to play a tournament. So the short answer is, if you want to do well in tournaments, you got to play a lot of tournaments. And the best way to prepare for the tournaments is playing a lot of matches and then just kind of practicing the things that you see happening during those matches. Normally there are patterns. Okay, I feel that when the opponent attacks me to this point, I don't know what to do, or I hate playing pushers because every time I play a pusher, I cannot put the ball away. Or I hate when somebody's coming to the net and attacking me the whole time. So basically, those matches are going to give you the answer to the things that you need to work on. So if somebody's coming to the net and beating you every time, well, you probably don't have, you're not be able to place the passing shot low enough or cross court enough, or you're not able to lob well enough. So it just gives you cues of where you are.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. And it's obviously very tough if you're not getting to practice much. I mean, of course, you can think about, things like what we're talking about today, the strategy part. You can, make a game plan before you go out there and, play to your strengths. And if you know the opponent, try to play to their weaknesses. But yeah, nothing takes the place of practice, but you can at least kind of think a little before you play and make a plan. We have a lot of great questions here. I'm going to go back to a couple of mine selfishly. So, Edgar, you talk about the importance of knowing the geometry on the tennis court. And so I would just want to ask you if you could explain a little further, the importance of knowing the geometry of a court and the intricacies involved in that.
Yeah, that's a little bit hard to do just without visuals, but okay, let me see if we can do it. Basically, when you're talking about the geometry of the court, it means understanding the dimensions of the court. Where is the playing field? And where does that put me in relation to the playing field with the net, the sidelines, the baseline? How far can I hit? What happens if I hit cross court? What happens if I hit down the line? So you kind of follow the angles of the shots. And if you study the different possibilities when you're in the court in terms of what the angles of the shot can mean, or where would they take you if the ball is coming from the right hand of the court and they hit an angle, where would I have to run to get it? And what options does the opponent have if they go down the line? How far can they get me off the court? So if you kind of study the court a little bit and understand the geometry, understand how the basics of the court, you're going to come to a few conclusions. And basically what the geometry of the court dictates is, where should I stand to be able to take advantage to be able to cover best the court? That's one thing that the geometry tells you. And basically what it tells you is that for every shot that you hit, you should place yourself in the middle of the best possible shots of your opponent. Okay, so that means if I hit a ball into the corner of the opposite court, let's say if it's a right-handed player I'm playing against, and I hit it to his forehand on the corner over there. So the player has two options. He can either hit a down the line shot right on the line, so parallel. He can hit the ball parallel and hit right on the singles line. That is as far as I would have to move to get that ball. Mm-hmm. Or they can hit cross court, but if they hit cross court, they can actually dissect the sideline and make me run a lot farther. So I'm going to have to stand a little bit, not in the middle of the court, because if I stand in the middle of the court, I'm close to this, to my sideline on my backhand side. That means that the down the line shot, I'm going to be close to that one. But if they hit an angle, I'm going to be pretty far from that shot. So I really should be standing a little bit to the right of the center line. So the geometry of the court basically tells me that the position for the next shot of the opponent, my position should vary depending on my shot. Depending on where I hit the shot, I need to be moving to that position before the opponent hits it in order to be able to hit either shot that he hits. It's like I said, it's a little complicated without the graphics, but I hope people are getting the idea. And it also tells you, okay, how far should I play? Should I play close to the baseline, or should I back up, or should I play inside the court? Well, there's advantage and disadvantage to all of those options. So basically what you want to try to do is gain time from the opponent. That means you're taking time away from the opponent by hitting the ball as close as possible to where it bounces. The closer that I get to the net, the more angles I can hit, the wider my angles are going to be. The further back I play, the harder it is for me to hit an angle and to hit the person off the court. So I want to try to play close to the net to be able to hit angles and make the opponent run wider every time. Of course, in order to hit closer to the bounce, I got to move faster, and I have to keep my ball deep, because if I'm keeping my ball short, the opponent is going to attack me, and I'm going to have to back up to gain time, because if I don't back up, then I'm not going to get the ball. Mm-hmm. So those are the things that the geometry of the court really teaches you. And basically from the way the court is set up with the net and all that, we know that when we're in a defensive position, we have to gain time so that the next shot we have a better chance. So how do I do that? Well, hit the ball high, use different heights. Mm-hmm. Okay. So those are basically some of the things that just understanding the court will teach us tactically. You know, hit the ball cross court. Why cross court? Because if I hit the ball cross court, I'm in a better position from if I hit the ball cross court and the opponent hits it cross court back to me, I'm already kind of close there. And the farthest I can run is if he hits it down the line. So if he hits it down the line, I'm going to have to run to the line. But here we go again. If I hit it down the line, then the opponent is going to hit cross court. And if the opponent hits cross court, I'm going to have to run much wider because of the angle of his shot. So if we just visualize the court and I hit cross court, just visualize yourself hitting down the line. So you hit down the line and the opponent hits cross court in an angle. So you're going to run and you're going to be in the doubles alley. You're going to hit down the line again. And then the opponent is going to hit cross court again. And then you're going to have to run from the doubles alley to the other doubles alley. Now, let's picture yourself hitting cross court. So if you hit cross court, the best the opponent can do is hit down the line straight to the singles line. So all you have to do is to run to the singles line. And you hit cross court again, and the opponent is going to hit down the line again. So all you have to do is go to the singles line again. So what do you prefer, to run to the doubles alley every time or to run only to the singles line?
Yeah, beautiful point. Just to the singles line, unless, like you said, Edgar, you want to exercise a lot,
If you
then
want to exercise a
go
lot,
ahead.
keep hitting the ball down the line. No problem.
Yeah, especially with the fitness level, we're not as fit as team. We can't do that all the time. Great stuff there. So you have a section in your new course that is coming up very soon, which I'm excited about, Edgar. The singles tactic masterclass. You have a section on how we beat ourselves. And I was wondering if you could maybe give us one or two of those ways that we actually do end up beating ourselves so that we can know that and then stop doing it.
All right. Well, basically, there's a few things that you can do right away to improve your chances of winning. And the first thing that you need to do is just kind of keep track of what is happening in the match. So you have to ask yourself, am I really getting beat or am I really beating myself? Mm-hmm. A lot of times what happens is that we start the match and we're a little bit nervous and we're trying to hit these great shots because we know the opponent is pretty good. And since I'm a little bit nervous, I start making mistakes and then I get a little bit more nervous. And obviously what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to make more mistakes. And then it just keeps going like that. And then suddenly I realize, okay, I already lost the first set and I'm still kind of making mistakes and I'm nervous. I don't know what to do. And I never get out of that situation, and I end up losing the match, and the other guy actually didn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I just did everything. So the first thing that you need to do is in the changeover, okay, you know what? I'm making all the mistakes. So let's first get the ball in. So let's get the first serve in. Don't try to kill it. Just get it in. Get the return. Aim it at the middle of the court. Just get that ball in there. Hit every ball cross court. Why cross court? Because I'm hitting over the lower part of the net. I have more area to hit into, and it gets me in a better position. So I'm nervous. Hit cross court. Don't hit down the line. Give yourself good targets. Once I do all that, maybe I'm trying to win and I don't have to do anything else. But let's say, okay, I did all that and I'm still losing. Okay, then I need to start thinking, okay, well, maybe let's see if I can attack a little bit more, change it here, change it there. But at least I set a base. You have to set a base. You got to make sure that, okay, I'm setting a base. I'm giving myself a chance. The opponent is still beating me. So, okay, let's push it from there. But if you don't set a base, you're giving the match away. The other, there's several other things that are fairly easy for everyone to do. And one of them is what I said before, get the point started. Okay, it doesn't matter if you're returning a lob, but return it. Get it in the court. Make the opponent hit a next shot. Same thing on your serve. A lot of us, even if there might not be a huge difference between the first and the second serve, or maybe if it is, and we're missing the first serve every single time, it might be better just to take a little bit off and just start getting it in. Get your 50% first serves in. Try to shoot for that. Take some pace off, hit the ball with a little bit more spin. One of the big problems that I see at the amateur level is trying to, this idea of a great shot in tennis is a bullet 1 inch over the net. The reality is that is a terrible shot, because even if it's hard, if it's so low, it is going to be short. The key in tennis is to keep the ball deep. Why? Because you're taking away the chance of the opponent to attack you. So even if it's softer and deeper, it's going to be more effective than really hard and short. Plus, the other thing is, if you're aiming so close to net, you're probably going to be making a lot of mistakes in the net. So one of the first things that I tell all my students is you have to make sure that you're not missing balls in the net. That should be your mantra anytime that you practice. If you're hitting balls in the net, you're not aiming at the right height. You need to be aiming at least 2 nets high, at least. So basically, if you're practicing without thinking about it, you should never be hitting balls in the net. That should be your normal shot. Your normal shot is double net. Most players, the problem is that they see the net and they say, oh, all I have to do is clear that. And so they aim way too close to the net. And they make tons of mistakes into the net. So if you don't take anything away from this podcast, if you only take away one thing, is aim high. Don't make mistakes in the net. That in itself is really going to help your game. Other things, do what you do best, right? I mean, there's no rule in tennis that I have to hit a forehand in this situation or a backhand in this situation, or that I have to stay back, or that I have to go net. You can do whatever you want. So play the odds. If you have a much better forehand than a backhand, try to never hit a backhand.
That's what I do.
Right?
Yeah.
If your ground strokes are terrible, but you're really good at the net, don't stay back a single moment. It doesn't matter. If what you do best is hitting slices, just hit slices the whole time. There is no rule. So do what you do best. Give yourself a chance. And also try to force the opponent to hit the balls they don't like to hit. Right? So basically your basic strategy is going to be I'm going to hit the shots that I hit best. And I'm going to force you to hit the ones that you don't like to hit.
That's it.
So those are simple things that are very powerful, and that really help you win more matches. Understanding the situation. You should always know, okay, am I in a situation to attack? Am I in a neutral position, or am I on defense? Where am I? Because if I'm trying to attack from a defensive situation, I'm going to make a ton of mistakes. I see a lot of players trying to hit bullets from 6 feet behind the baseline. Even if you make it, you're not going to do anything to the opponent. So again, you're risking a lot for a very little payback. Bad gambling in the casino, your money's not going to last that long. Okay, so you got to risk when the payoff is big. Payout is big, then you risk. When is the payout big? Okay, you have a forehand. I'm in a position to attack. The opponent is in trouble. Take a chance.
Yeah. I feel like we should go to the casino sometime together, Edgar. Do pretty well. But yeah, I see it a lot, obviously, and that's why we're talking about it. I analyzed a video recently of two 4.5 players, and I noticed that, some of the players, they were like hitting approach shots from behind the baseline and going in when the opponent was in the middle of the court in a comfortable position, or they were going for, a winner, obviously, like outside of the doubles court, and, trying to do all these crazy things. But, you've got to play the percentages and think about what the optimal shot is at the time, and amazing advice about the height of the ball. In college we used to, I don't know the exact devices, it's pretty simple, but we would tie like some sort of rope like several inches above the net so that we could practice hitting over it. So I feel like that something like that would really benefit you in regards to what Edgar advised here. But we have a bunch more questions that came in, so hopefully we won't be here all night. But Samantha, again, she asks, there's so much to think about during a tennis match. How do you do it all, especially during a tournament match when the nerves are also a factor? What do you think about that one?
All right, what I would tell Samantha is that she has not really done her homework before she gets into a match. Because like I said before, a match, once you're playing, it should be automatic reaction. You're really not thinking, okay? You're really not, no good player is going to be running to the ball and trying to figure out, okay, should I hit it cross-court? Should I hit it down the line? Maybe a lob? Okay, what should I do? No. The good players, what they have done is they have put themselves into that situation so many times that it's like seeing a picture. It's like, oh, I recognize that picture. This is what I need to do. it's a reaction. They don't think. If you're thinking a lot, that means that you don't understand your game and that you are not really sure of what to do in every situation on the court. So your job is to kind of try to get together maybe with a tennis coach or something and just go over the basic situations that you might encounter on the court. Okay, when the ball is coming deep to my forehand and I'm in this position, where should I hit it? When the ball is coming short to my forehand, I'm inside the court, what are my options? When I have a high ball in the middle of the court, what should I do? When I have a really high, deep ball that it's pushing me back, what should I answer? And so you need to analyze the shots that you normally are getting and make sure that you understand what you should do in each of those situations. Once you understand what you need to be doing in each of these situations, then you need to practice each situation separately. For instance, if the ball is coming really high and deep to my backhand, I need to back up. And if I'm still backing up when I'm hitting it, I should probably just hit another high lob back. Okay? If I recognize that the ball is going to come really deep, maybe I can go in and catch it in the air. That would be my second option. So practice with somebody, have somebody hit you that ball over and over and over, and you respond it the way that you're going to respond it, the way that you know that it's right. After a while, anytime that you see that shot, you're going to respond like that without thinking about it. And that is exactly what you need to get to. And you have your strengths, Samantha. So you know, okay, I like to hit my forehand in this position. I like to do that. So you try to look for those situations and try to create those situations so that you can use those strengths. But very, very important is you cannot be thinking during a match. All you have to be doing is looking at the ball and reacting. The time to think is on the changeovers. And the changeovers you can analyze. You can say, okay, well, this is happening. This is what the opponent does well. This is what I'm not doing well. This is what the opponent does badly. So let's try to force it and make him or her play those shots that they don't like. But my general strategy in terms of, okay, where should I hit this ball? Where should I hit that other ball? That should be automatic. And if it's not, you got to go back to basic and practice.
Yeah, beautiful advice there. And, it's a matter of just practicing these situations, as Edgar said, over and over again, so that it becomes second nature, so that okay, for example, this person has approached the net and they're at this part of the court, so I'm going to hit my pass here. The brain is an amazing thing. And so it'll, tell you basically that I've been in this position, thousands of times. And so this is the shot that I'm going to hit here. And that'll help you a lot, along with, your game plan before matches as well. So great question there. And thank you for that answer, Edgar. And we've got a bunch more. Irvin, how's it going? He asks, this is more technical, I think, but what can you see what do you see as the keys to hitting a heavy topspin forehand, or just a heavy forehand with good margin?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, it's a technical question more. And I think that the better your technique, that means that the better your kinetic chain works.
Yeah.
The easier it is to use the whole body to accelerate the racket. Definitely, you need to be able to feel comfortable with topspin. So if you're not feeling comfortable with topspin, that should be your first step. So in order to hit a heavy forehand, you need to really feel comfortable with topspin, and you need to be able to accelerate the racket head. So the ball is not going to be heavy if the racket head is not going fast. So what I would do is I would practice hitting the ball at different heights and trying to swing as fast as I can and trying to hit as much spin as I can, and just vary the height and vary the amount of spin. So if you also practice like hitting one ball flatter, one ball with a little bit of spin, one ball with maximum spin, you're going to start getting the feel for, okay, what does it take to do those things? And also, okay, if I hit it at this height, how much spin do I need to hit it to be able to hit it fast and the ball still come into the court?
Mm-hmm. Gotcha, Edgar. So back to one of my questions. How do we figure out what type of playing style best suits us? I mean, I do believe that, there's a lot of us out there playing who actually don't even know, what style we should be playing, whether that's aggressive baseline or all court, serve and volley. So how do we actually figure out what playing style is best for our game?
You have to try to get to know yourself a little bit better and analyze what the options are. The tricky thing about that is that you have to match your physical abilities with your with the way you are mentally. If maybe you physically you're able to play aggressive ground stroker maybe, but maybe as a person you're very conservative. So it's kind of hard for you to just take those chances because that's just not the way you see the world. Usually the way you play tennis is the way that you see the world. The problem is that one could be stopping you to reach your full potential. The other way it could also happen, right? So maybe you're kind of small and maybe you don't have that much power, but you're just aggressive mentality, and so you just want to kill the ball and play like that. Well, the problem is that playing like that, you're probably not going to be very good because you're physically not able to play that way. So you have to kind of find a balance there. Find something that you're comfortable with, maybe push the limit a little bit. And basically, I think you have to kind of start with physically what you're able to do. Are you really fast? Are you really strong? Do you run really well? What you can do, because the mental, you can kind of change it easier than the physical. You're 5 foot tall, you're not going to be 6. So no matter how much you try, right? But you could try your mentality. You could try to change your mentality a little bit, and you could try to match it to the game style that might be more suitable for you. So I think that is very, very important that you really analyze. Okay, what do I do well? If I want to be a more of a consistent player, well, I better move really well. If I don't move very well, that game style is not going to work. Right. So if I have big weapons, well, I should probably play aggressive. I should not really try just to hang back there if I can do something with the ball. So I should maybe look into that more. If I'm 6'8", well, I should probably explore the net play a little bit. You know what I mean? So I do feel there's a lot of mistakes out there and people not really taking advantage of their physical attributes on the court.
Yeah. That's another huge point. If you don't take anything else away, that's a great one to take away as well. So we have a question from Susan. Hello, Susan. How about strategies for playing someone who predominantly uses chip shots and spins? How would you adjust against that type of player, Edgar?
Well, the first thing that you need to try to do is understand how this chip shots and spin work. You have to be clear, okay, if they're hitting a spin with the forehand, which way can it bounce? And what is the likely outcomes of those shots? So you need to try to practice against somebody doing that so that you start getting the feel of, okay, how do I counter this thing? Do I slice it back or do I hit topspin? It really depends on your technical ability. But most likely, if you're asking this question, is that you're not feeling very comfortable understanding what's happening with those shots. Those shots are effective usually to keep the ball low and short. So I'm assuming that somebody that's playing against you like that is probably hitting deep and then suddenly short balls with slice. And if you're hitting with slice like that, one of the things that is difficult is to hit passing shots because you're not going to hit the ball very hard. So you might be able to take advantage by coming into the net a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing is usually you never know if that opponent, most likely they don't like to come to the net either. if you don't like it, or maybe you do like it, but what I would try to do to them is get them out of a situation where they can do those things that are hurting me. So I have basically two options. Either I kind of practice and get used to what that means, or those situations, how to counter those chip shots. I can get more comfortable coming into the net because they're usually probably going to give me a lot of short balls that I can come in. Mm-hmm. And the other option is to give them a short ball back and try to force them to come in and get them out of that situation.
Got it, Edgar. When you want to give them a short ball, do you actually, and let's say you're like in the middle of the court with them hitting a short ball and you want to hit the short ball back, do you hit that and you back up, or do you hit that and you also go up while they're approaching?
It really depends. It depends how, if you hit that short ball and you feel that you're going to force the opponent, it might be a good time to move in and try to hit the next ball as a volley. If you're hitting that ball short and you kind of feel that the opponent they're going to be moving forward, but it's not going to be a very tough shot for them, you might as well back up.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Perfect. Thanks for that. We have a question from Alok again. I try to hit every ball on the backhand side using a full swinged backhand. Sometimes after hitting a weak backhand, I lose the point and I regret it for not slicing. So how do I choose between a slice and a full swing backhand, which is, we mentioned that in the beginning of the show, that scenario, but how do we decide?
I'm assuming the full swing means a topspin shot or a drive.
I think so. Yeah.
That is a really good question. I mean, I even see that in my game. I mean, I play with a lot of slice backhand just because I can keep the ball deep and hardly miss. And my topspin backhand is pretty good, but it's a little bit more risky. And I am not sure if I'm really forcing the opponent that much more. Mm-hmm. That we go back to the casino thing, right? So am I really benefiting from hitting my full topspin backhand, or it's really not doing that much? I mean, it looks good. It feels good. It feels like I'm attacking, but am I really attacking that much more? Am I taking more risk by hitting my topspin than my slice? So you have to really understand your game and be really be objective. Really be objective. And I mean, everybody loves to hit a great topspin backhand, but okay, am I really having a payoff on that backhand? If not, stick with the slice, look for forehands, look for something else. There's a situation where you have to hit a topspin backhand, like if somebody attacks you and comes to the net. But other than that, most of the time, a good deep slice backhand is enough against most players.
Yeah, worked for Graf.
Yeah, worked for a lot of players.
Yeah, for sure. And it was interesting to see, Dominic hitting a lot more slices at the end. And, I think it's probably because he was tired and struggling. And so that also evidences that it takes less energy to slice and to rip a backhand like that. So that's another thing to think about. You've given us a lot of great tactics here and strategies, Edgar, but I was wondering to make it a little more, to make it USTA specific, what is one powerful tactic that comes to mind that you can give us for USTA players that they can implement quickly and start winning more matches and points?
Well, the bottom line is that there's only a few things that you can do in terms of strategies when you're playing, right? So, I mean, basically there are 8 things that you can do. Either you can out-rally your opponent, you can overpower your opponent, you can try to use your strengths during that point, you can try to attack the weaknesses, you can rush the net, you can force the opponent to rush the net. You can use variety, or you can really try to open the court. I mean, those are basically the 8 things that you can do on any specific point in the match. And as a player, you're going to, depending on your game style, you're going to do more of those in most of the points, and maybe a few of those in other points, or none of those in other points. But those are the 8 options that you really have when you're playing, and that you should exploit, right? So before the points start, you should kind of choose one of those 8 things. And most people just kind of choose them by just automatic, because that's the only thing they do every time. So, okay, I'm always going to try to use my weapon, or I'm always just going to try to focus on the weakness of the opponent, or I'm going to just be consistent. I'm just not going to make mistakes anytime. But what the important thing is that you understand that you have options, and that maybe what you do in specific points in the match can make a huge difference. Maybe you're not a volleyer at all, but at 4-all, 30-40 with the opponent serving, maybe just running to the net is going to be enough to scare them and have them miss the passing shot. So you have to understand that these options that you have, you might not use them every time, but you should use them sometime. And you should understand that you have them there. Using variety, for instance, why not hit a few logs sometimes? Just mix it up. Give them a couple of cut balls, something like that. So kind of try to use your full potential as a player, and not just the shots that you always use. Maybe you love to come to the net. Okay, well, it's great, but maybe sometimes mix it up, stay back a little bit. Have them guessing. Is he going to come in? Is he going to stay back? What's going to happen? So I think just in general, the advice, it is very difficult to give a blanket advice for all levels of players. But definitely you need to know what you do well and try to do that as much as possible. Try to focus on understanding the opponent's game. A lot of times we're so worried about our game that we don't even think about what the opponent is going through. The opponent is having the same problems as you're having. You just got to figure it out. You just got to be thinking a little bit more about the opponent's problems, not so much about your problems. So try to put yourself in the opponent's position and try to really understand. You should be able, after 2 or 3 games, to answer the question of what can they do well and what do they have problems with? How are they winning points? How am I winning points? If you're not asking yourself those questions during the changeovers, you're just not taking advantage of opportunities. You need to be looking for patterns. I think that is very, very important. If you're playing somebody and they keep serving wide and you keep being surprised, okay, the first time they serve wide, okay, surprise, yeah, I'm surprised. Second time, okay, I should have been expecting it, okay, surprise, let's say. But if they do it 8 times and they keep surprising you, you're just not doing your job. That is not a surprise. That you're just not thinking straight. Okay, you need to be looking for those patterns, because the opponent is going to do what they do best over and over, and they're going to do it more in key points. So if the opponent keep passing you cross court, every time you go to net, they hit a cross court. Every time you go to net, they hit a cross court. Well, if you finish the match and all you can say is, well, they kept passing me cross court, well, you're not doing your job. You should have realized that in the second game and cover the cross court and force them to hit down the line. Maybe they don't even know how to hit down the line. So come to the net and just run to the side where they always hit it and see if they can hit it to the other side. If they keep serving cross court, well, stand in the alley. See if they can hit to the tee. Look for patterns and exploit that. A lot of times, just keeping those in your mind. Let's say you're playing against somebody and you see that they're getting really close to the net when they go to the net. Well, you have 2 options there. You start lobbing right away, or you wait till it's a key point. Maybe it's a break point, Great chance. I have not lobbed a single time. Okay, next time they go to net, if they come in on this point, I'm going to lob. That's the point I'm betting. That's where the big payoff is. If I'm able to lob it, that's it. I break, done.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be a problem solver on the court. I remember, especially when I was a junior, I didn't really think it all on the court. And gradually, I was exposed to more experts and coaches and thought more about the game. And it's really fulfilling, when you're trying to figure things out and you're actively thinking about, how you can maximize using your strength against your opponent's weaknesses. And then you actually, figure out on key points what is most likely. And then you actually succeed. Or you figured it out, but maybe you don't execute. But still, it's just a great feeling to know that I have the ability to actually impact the match through my thinking and strategy, and it's just really fun. So you've definitely got to up your game and recognize patterns. That's a part of the fun of the game. So
I mean, that is a big. I think that's a big thing in tennis. I mean, that's what makes it a lot of fun, and that's what makes it a lot of fun playing against a lot of different people. The problem that I see a lot is that people avoid playing against players that they feel uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
So, I hate playing pushers. No, I'm not going to. I hate playing against that lady because she's a pusher. Well, if you want to get better, the only way to get better is to become those people's best friend. So if you hate playing against this lady, the only way you're going to get better is just inviting this lady to play over and over and over until you feel comfortable. I mean, that's the way it is. Human nature, unfortunately, kind of forces us to act against our best interests a lot of times.
Yes.
So if I know I need to get in shape, well, I probably need to start running. But if I hate running, well, then I'm not going to get in shape. So that's my option, right? So that is how you need to look at the game. You need to really try to play against the players that you don't like playing, because they're the ones that are going to teach you how to handle those type of games.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Just a quick shout out on Facebook. We got some comments there too. Robert, nice suggestion there. He mentioned the in and out tennis line calling device is great, and it gives you statistical feedback on players' shots. So it sounds like, your earlier question about stats and stuff, that could be something to look into, the in-out tennis line calling device. Edgar, one other question then I want to ask you about your latest course that's coming out soon. This could be, a mental one too, but Alfonso asks, why do I lose my serve when I'm up 40 love? We've all done it, Alfonso.
Come on, Alfonso. What's going on?
Yeah. Close it out, man.
You need to answer that question. Most likely what happens is, like we've talked about it many times, tennis is a mental game. So you're obviously not doing the things that are winning you points at some point. So you're probably playing a certain way until you get up on the score and then change the way that you're playing. And even if you do it just a little bit, that a lot of times is enough to create the problem. So a lot of times we don't really feel it because it's not like, okay, I was super aggressive and then I'm not aggressive at all. No, usually it's kind of like I was super aggressive and then I just kind of was aggressive. I wasn't the super aggressive that I was before. So it's just a little bit of a difference that makes a huge difference. And obviously now it's in your head. So now every time that you're up 40 love, you're probably thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to lose this game again. So what you need to do is you basically just need to play one point at a time, and you keep doing the things that you should be doing the whole game. So because that's how tennis is. Tennis is a game. One more, we go back to the casino. Tennis is a game of probability. You don't need to win all the points. You just need to win a few more than the opponent.
That's right.
And so you just got to figure out, okay, what is my best strategy to win a few more points than my opponent? That's all I need to figure out. And I just need to stick with it. Okay, I know that this is going to eventually pay off. So maybe I'm going to the net, the opponent is passing me. Okay, well, close game, but he passed me a few times. I'm going to keep going. Why? Because I know that it's not the same thing to pass me at 0-0 than at 4-all. And if I keep attacking him, they're going to start getting nervous, and they're going to start maybe thinking, okay, is he going to attack me now when it's really getting close? And that's where I'm going to get my points. So my advice to you, Alfonso, is figure out what is the best strategy for you to win points and stick with it, no matter the score.
That's right. That's right, Edgar. And I'm not a degenerate gambler by any means, but, I liken it to, when you're playing a poker hand and there's an optimal play that you need to make, but sometimes a lot of players, they think about the money aspect of it and they let that kind of dictate their decision or make them play scared or suboptimally. So it's the same thing, when you're thinking about the score, instead of thinking about the optimal play, the optimal shot and so forth, you're thinking about, oh, I'm up at the, 40 love and all that. And then that kind of messes up, your thinking and your play. So you just want to keep thinking about what is optimal and what will win you the points and what have you been doing that has been winning you the points, like Edgar said. So great stuff there. Edgar, I want to ask you a little bit about your new upcoming singles tactics masterclass. Obviously, from all this knowledge that you're giving us, we can tell easily that you're a great expert in this aspect of the game. And so, can you let us know a little bit about what the singles tactics masterclass is all about?
Well, really, what I wanted to do is create a course that is really going to touch on every aspect of single strategy, and that it's going to give everyone that goes through the course several ideas that they can implement right away and improve their games. I wanted them to really understand what the tactical aspect of tennis is. What does it mean to play tactically smart? Like we clarified earlier, that it's not thinking about it when you're playing. It is understanding the situation and it's reacting to certain situations with the shots that are going to give you the best chances of winning the point. So that is very, very important. So how do you get yourself to that point? Well, you have to understand the geometry of the court. You have to understand how tennis works. You have to understand what happens if I hit the ball cross court from this position. What is the most likely return from the opponent? What happens if I hit this shot from this position? Where am I opening the court? Am I hitting a shot that is going to diminish my chances of winning the point? What's happening? So you have to understand every situation that you may encounter on the court. You need to understand, okay, what is my goal of my first serve? What do I need to consider every time I hit a first serve in order to win more games? What is my strategy on my second serve? What should I be thinking? And so once you understand all these laws of the battle that I call it, okay, so how do I incorporate those laws into my game? How do I make myself play automatically and still respect these games? Still hit cross-court when I should be hitting cross-court. Still hit the ball high when I should be hitting high. Still attacking when it's an attackable ball and not something that is going to hurt me after I come to the net. So it's a very in-depth course, and it's going to answer all of your questions in terms of how do I win more? What do I need to play smarter tennis? And the other thing that I really like is that it's very practical. I mean, I'm a very practical coach because I still like to play a lot. And I grew up playing competitively, and I've played competitively my whole life. I've coached high-performance players, and I've also coached club players. I coach at any level of the game, but it's always been on court and very practical. So everything that I write and that I create is for people to just kind of go through and apply right away.
Perfect. Awesome, Edgar. Excited about that. And just curious, like, what is the structure of the course? How does it broken down? I assume it's video and so forth. Any details about that?
It's all video based. So what I do is basically I grab all the subjects, and then you have a video per subject.
Got it. Cool. Very good. And I mean, is there any like how long is it? Do you know, like, approximately, and number of videos, anything like that?
It has more than 100 videos in it, and It's I don't know exact time, but it's more than 3 hours
Nice.
long. Yeah.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's very, very comprehensive.
Yeah,
And
no, I like that because it's quite a few videos, but it sounds like they're bite-sized pieces for each one so that you can digest them.
yes, I try to keep all the videos under 5 minutes, so you can easily go through the course one by one, and it's a very nice software, so you can mark where you are, and you can as soon as you get the course, you know exactly the outline of the whole course, and you can go through the whole course, or you can skip a little bit. I mean, I suggest you go through the whole course first, and then just kind of go back to the points that apply a little bit more to your game. But in it, you will learn like different strategies also to play against different players. You will learn the 8 different strategies for each point, the 8 different options, either be consistent, be aggressive, go to net, bring the opponent to the net, etc. The fundamental tactical basis of tennis, like, okay, tennis is a cross-court game. We've talked a lot about that. Why is it a cross-court game? Making sure that you start the point right. Just very, very practical stuff. So I'm sure any player that wants to improve their game will find it very useful. As you know, Mervin, I work with TennisGate, which that's a platform where we're starting the course, and it's one of our, actually it's our first course in the platform, and we're hoping to have a lot of more courses coming up.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So obviously, if they want to check it out, I mean, there's a couple of ways. You go to TennisGate as well and check on there. And then also, if you're a part of my subscriber email list, which you can go to tennisfiles.com and just subscribe, and you'll get some really cool emails and free ebook as well if you haven't already. And then I'll let you know when it comes out as well, because we're not exactly like it's coming up in the near future, right, Edgar? Pretty much.
Yeah, it should come out at the end of this month or early next month.
Perfect. Awesome. That's really exciting. I'm sure it'll do really well. I got a chance to kind of look at the structure, and it looks really good. And obviously you have a lot of great knowledge about single strategy and tactics. So that's fantastic. Just checking to see if there's any other questions here that we might want to apply. I know I saw one about strategy against a grinder, but we already talked about that, Andrew, so you can rewind and check that out. Let's see, metaverse technique. Okay, I think that's about it, Edgar. I want to ask you a question of my own, which is, you've given us a lot of great advice on the show today, but what is one key tip that you can give us to help us improve our single strategy and tactics?
I think I have given you a lot of keys.
I know. You either pick one of those, or you can give us a new one or an overall type of thing.
I think if I were to pick one thing that is very, very important, is to know your game. Go back to that. Go back to understand what can you do and what can't you do. When am I taking risks and when am I not taking risks? Where should I hit these shots and where should I not hit these shots? So what I'm saying is basically is understand at what speed are you comfortable with your shot and you can play consistently for all your shots. And at what speed are you taking risks? Mm-hmm. And what kind of shots are you taking more risks and maybe not getting the rewards? Just like that example with the slice versus the topspin backhand. Okay, are you really benefiting from the topspin? Are you taking more risk when you're hitting with the topspin and benefiting less? So you have to really analyze your game and really come up with a clear understanding of what do I do best, what are my top speeds in every situation on the court for every of my shots. When am I taking risks? And try to really, once you understand that, then it's going to be a lot easier to answer the question, am I losing or is the opponent beating me? Okay, so you're going to be able to cut down your mistakes by understanding what it means to play percentage tennis, playing to the best of your ability. That's all you can do. If you try to play above your ability, then you're going to be beating yourself.
That's right. Love it. Love it. Thanks a lot, Edgar. Really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure, and I see a lot of great comments here. You know, just putting a few on the screen. Thanks for the great advice. Thanks to you, Mirban and Edgar. I see Ramon in here. How's it going, Ramon? Great interview, Mirban and Edgar. Appreciate it. That's great. I want to ask you, obviously, you know, you mentioned TennisGate or any other, accounts or social or anything like that where people can follow what you're doing and correspond with you as well.
Yep. I have a YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Giffenig Tennis.
Okay. Perfect.
And then I have also a web page where I have blogs, and that's edgargiffenig.com.
Perfect.
And TennisGate. So those are kind of the outlets, and you will find blogs and videos and advice in all of those. If you haven't checked out TennisGate, I think it's a great platform with a lot of content, and you will enjoy it. But check out the YouTube channel, check out the website. I have those couple of books, Developing High Performance Players and Play Tennis with Passion. The Developing High Performance Players is a little bit more focused on coaches, but the Play Tennis with Passion, I think it's a great source for any passionate player. And I think everybody that's listening to us is probably a passionate player, because they would not be listening to a tennis podcast if they weren't. So it was meant really for amateurs hoping to improve their games, and it's very practical.
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. And I'm definitely going to include all the links that we just mentioned about Edgar's, his books and the content that he creates and everything on the show notes page, and also on this YouTube page as well very soon. So, Edgar, I just want to thank you very much for coming on to the Tennis Files podcast. It was fun to have you on, and sure we'll see you soon again on the summit and on other content. So everybody definitely check out Edgar's stuff, check out TennisGate and EdgarGiffenigTennis.com, the YouTube channel. Thanks a lot, everybody, for attending this live stream. It was a lot of fun, and thank you in advance to everybody who listens on the audio podcast version. And thank you, Edgar. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Mirban. It's always a pleasure working with you, and all the good work that you're doing, all the good information that you're putting out there for all the enthusiastic players there. So keep it up.
Thanks a lot, Edgar. Same with you. And we'll let everybody know, of course, about the course coming out soon as well. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Edgar, and have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. I really hope you enjoyed my interview with Coach Edgar Giffenig. And as we mentioned, Edgar is releasing a very cool brand new course called the Singles Tactic Masterclass. And the best way to check that out is I'm going to, depending on when you're listening to this show, you're going to be able to go to tennisfiles.com/Edgar. That's tennisfiles.com/EDGAR. And you'll be able to check that course out. And so I'll also leave a link in the show notes page as well. And if you're listening to this, pretty early from when it was published, you can just go to tennisfiles.com and then subscribe to my email list. And then if you're part of the email list, then I will send you an email when it comes out so you can check it out. But yeah, I would definitely appreciate it if you would be a subscriber of Tennis Files. We have a great community, and I love communicating with you through email and letting you know about the best tips for your game, whether that's ones that I've learned or experienced or ones that I can share through speaking with great coaches and players in the world. And I also, speaking of subscribing, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Tennis Files podcast, because that'll enable you to get all these episodes downloaded straight to your podcast app of your choice that you use while listening to the show. And the quote of the day is from Napoleon Hill, and Napoleon said, "If you cannot do great things, do small things in a great way." And that's a fantastic quote there. Applies to tennis and life. So obviously, if maybe you can't hit a monster serve really well, you focus on the small part of that of the serve, and you try to do that really well, and that becomes second nature, and then you go on to the next phase. And that's the same with strategy, as we talked about today. Maybe you focus on getting more height on the ball, and then once you master that, then you focus on choosing the right time to hit approach shots. Very good quote. And with that, I am just really grateful for your continued support, and it was really fun to do this live episode with Edgar. So if you want to join in on those, again, just go to tennisfiles.com and subscribe. And also another way too is to go to tennisfiles.com/YouTube and then subscribe to my channel, and then hit the notification bell icon. So that way, before I go live with these YouTube live broadcasts, then you will get a notification of those, and also notifications whenever I publish YouTube videos, which I'm doing a lot more of these days. I have a bunch of actually single strategy YouTube videos, which will complement this podcast episode I just did very well. So, in my humble opinion. All right. Well, thanks a lot for listening. I really appreciate, the great comments and support and all that. So please stay safe and play tennis safely as well. And we will see you on the next episode of the Tennis Files podcast. This is Mirabon signing out.